Hello, everybody. This is Arwen Lewis, and you're listening to the Arwen Lewis Radio Show. My show is under the Jeremiah Show platform, and today I have a very special guest, Mr. Michael Cobb. Michael Cobb is a man who wears many hats and who has lived many lives. From his 17-year career at Disney to starting his own boutique winery to opening Solvang's first and only Tiki Bar, it's safe to say he has put his mark on the vintage and retro culture. Owner of High Roller Tiki Lounge and Bettie Page Rum, Cobb has spent the past 17 years focused on introducing interesting beverage programs to the Santa Barbara wine country visitors. High Roller Tiki Lounge, located in the village of Solvang, provides a place for tourists and locals to gather for live music and other popular events. In addition to running the Tiki Bar, Cobb takes his act on the road where he and his company, Bettie Page Rum, promote a monthly Tuesday event, Tiki Teaserama, at the Golden Tiki in Las Vegas, bringing live music, burlesque, and Bettie Page Rum drink specials to what has often been a slower night for the bars, and it has quickly become the go-to spot on Tuesday nights. Most days you can find Michael Cobb working the bar at High Roller Tiki Lounge and changing gears as needed. Here you leave today and enter the world of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy. Michael, welcome to the Arwen Lewis Show.
Thanks for having me, Arwen.
I'm so excited to have you because you're the first venue owner that I've been able to interview.
All right.
And so everybody, today we're going to, for the soundtrack, we're going to be featuring some of Mike's favorite songs, and we're just going to talk about his really cool career in the entertainment industry. So I thought we could start by setting the tone and having you tell us what sparked your interest in vintage and retro culture.
Oh, geez. It's always a tough question, I guess. I think it's kind of like when people ask me what inspired me for my business and the decor, but it's just stuff I like.
Yeah.
I like music from the 40s and 50s and that era. I like the cars of that era and that generation. The decor, I like mid-century modern. So it all kind of fits in. And I think it's just an expression of what I like, basically.
Yeah. And is that kind of what inspired you to maybe pursue the career with Disney? And can you tell us a little about your 17 years with Disney?
Yeah. I actually, well, yeah, there is. That's a whole book. But I grew up in Northern California. Went down to visit my dad, who was living in Southern California for the summer right after I graduated high school. Was going to the beach every day and that kind of thing. But I'm a little bit of a workaholic, and I decided to look for a summer job. And I applied at Disney. A few days later, they brought me in. Bang, bang. I was all of a sudden a busboy, and 17 at the time. Mm-hmm. And it seemed to be a fun place to work. A lot of similar-minded people, a lot of similar-aged people that were just starting college, things like that. So I ended up staying, and 17 summers later, I was still there. But my progression went pretty fast through the food and beverage program. I think within the first couple months, I was a food runner, a cook, dinner cook, an order cook, a fry cook. Moving up the ranks of the union, mm-hmm. and eventually started showing more interest in fine dining and that kind of cuisine. I worked on the Culinary Olympics for Disney, and which brought me some recognition and notice to some of the top chefs, and eventually I was asked to go to Club 33, which is the fine dining members only restaurant at Disneyland, and got invaluable training there. Was a saucier, sous chef, all that, until I got a little burned out with food with the culinary side, and went to the front of the house, became a bartender, front of the house lead, eventually manager at Club 33, and then a few other locations around Disney.
What was it like managing that restaurant?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anywhere there's a lot of money to be made, there's a lot of drama. So,
yeah.
Union, and it was interesting. Interesting time period. I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah.
But it's funny because people often ask me, that was your favorite place to work at Disney, and they just assume it was Club 33. Mm-hmm. And sorry, Club 33 folks, but it wasn't it probably was my third favorite place, even though I worked there the longest and I made the most friends there. I learned the most probably. But as far as like fun and all that, I mean, I worked at a place called the Tahitian Terrace back in 89 through 92.
What was that place like?
Yeah, it's great. It was Polynesian cuisine, best place in the resort at the time, I think, for food and beverage. Hula dancers, fire knife dancers. Was the best team ever. It was a seasonal position, and so you had to like prove yourself to work there. And basically, everybody seemed to just kind of be waiting around doing their other job until the Tahitian Terrace opened for the summer and all that. Unfortunately, they closed it in I think 92 when Aladdin became the #1 grossing animated film of the time, and they thought they would go with that, and so they transformed into Aladdin's Oasis to our sadness. And most of us stuck around and opened that location, and then I was luckily tapped to go to Club 33 after that. So I was only there for 1 year as Aladdin's Oasis, but still a great experience, great place. Post Club 33, I was given the opportunity to go to the Golden Winery at Disney California Adventure, which was the new park at the time, built in 2001, and diversify the wine list. Robert Mondavi had opened up a facility there for food and beverage, and they pulled out 6 months in, like a lot of the big names did. I think Wolfgang Puck had a place. They pulled out. Didn't look like the park was going to be popular. And I mean, now look at it. Yeah. So, but I was given the opportunity to go over there because of my wine knowledge I had gained from working at Club 33 and such, to diversify the wine list and bring in all the parts of California. I mean, Malibu wine, Sonoma, Napa, Santa Barbara, which led me to meet Brian Rice, who owns Artis Winery. His family owns Sunstone Winery, and that's what brought me to Disney, from Disney to the San Ynez Valley, through that relationship. But that's a whole nother thing.
Was that when you kind of started Bettie Page Rum too? And so like, and this is really cool. You have Bettie Page as your brand icon for rum and wine, right?
Yeah.
Is that kind of when that started? Or?
So, well, when I started, I worked for Sunstone for a few years. I was the operations manager there. Started working on my own stuff on the side, opened a winery tasting room called Sort This Out Cellars. Many might remember it. Had kind of a rockabilly pinup vibe, and started that in 2007. I was approached I met Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Tomorrow's Halloween, so happy birthday, Elvira. It's not really her birthday, but it should be.
It's her chosen birthday,
right?
Her rebirth.
Yeah, wonderful person to work with too. Met her at an event in Las Vegas called Viva Las Vegas. She was doing a signing next to my booth, and was apologetic for everybody all in our booth all day trying to get a glimpse of her in pictures. And we ended up talking after the thing. We exchanged business cards, and she hit me up about a week later and said, I want you to make wine for me. And so I went out to her home and office out in Ojai, and we had a great meeting, and we ended up doing some wine. And I was making my wine out of a co-op facility back then in Buellton, and she came out, and it was huge. Like, we had press there, line around the corner. She stayed and signed every bottle, signed every autograph, took every picture, and she was exhausted. And it was a really fun day though. She was there early. We actually bottled that day, and released the wine the same day.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a whole thing. Yeah. So we have pictures and videos of her at the winery doing some funny, quirky things, and doing the old I Love Lucy on the trying to get the bottles and put them in the boxes and losing them. And she's hilarious, very witty.
Yeah.
And that's what brought me to Bettie Page though. They took notice, the people from CMG Inc., who own the license for Bettie Page and many others, saw that what we were doing with Elvira and approached me about making wine for Bettie Page. And we ended up doing that. So yeah. And then that brought me a few years later to Bettie Page Rum. So I did Bettie Page wines for a little while. And while pouring at this event in Las Vegas, I was always looking over to my right, which we had Sailor Jerry was always over there.
Yeah.
And even though our thing was really popular, theirs seemed a lot more fun and more popular. So I decided one day I'm gonna get those guys. I'm not getting those guys, but totally different scale. But that led me to get together with one of the guys from the winery, and neither of us knew what we were doing, but we took us about a year, but we got the formula together for Bettie Page Rum, based a lot on Sailor Jerry's profile, spiced rum, I guess. So
Okay.
it's just more small batch and handcrafted.
And that's actual rum because you serve
Yeah.
2 types of it, right? Or...
Yeah. So the funny thing is, I can't even serve my rum at my at my place. Yeah, we're a Type 42 beer and wine license. We started about 8 years ago doing wine. Well, even longer than that, doing wine-based cocktails. We do live music. We have a kind of that vibe, more of a bar vibe than a tasting room, and we've always kind of leaned on that and went with it. And so at nighttime we would do these wine cocktails, and I had this back room called the High Roller Lounge, and it was underutilized. And I thought, gosh, what could I do with that? And I always wanted to put a tiki bar back there because I've been into tiki, and the Tahitian Terrace helped me with that. And I was one day I finally said, you know what, I'm going to do it. I was at ARWEN Tiki, another great local tiki bar down in Ventura. I was kind of measuring it out with my feet, going, this is about the same size as my back room. And we
is that how you did it? You just walked around the room?
Literally. Yeah. And I looked at Alana at the time, who was my taster manager, and we said, she was very into tiki too. And we said, let's just do it. So in January, when it was slow, we put it all together, built it up, and then it took over. It was, everybody wanted to be back in that room doing tiki drinks. So we expanded and made it more Polynesian, I guess you can say, inspired. And we started doing wine-based tiki cocktails.
Well, yeah, Sort the Cellars was so cool. It had such a vibe. Like you walk in and it's all exactly like Vegas pinup theme, and then you walk back and then it's this like complete other world in the tiki bar. Like it was 2 awesome venues in one, and like you had live music, and then of course the Tiki Lounge evolved into your current High Roller Tiki Lounge, which is also expanded and is huge. But I just wanted to ask a little bit about your experience like designing the aesthetics. Like, so you built everything for it and designed it. Did you have some pieces that were vintage that you found, or did you have those pieces made for the venue? Like, how did that happen?
A little of both. Yeah, I had some pieces made. I had some pieces already at my home, which is a little bit mid-century modern, and had some tiki influence. And I also had some people build some things for me too. So a little of all that.
Yeah.
I didn't exactly my first tiki bar in the back room there. I didn't really have a plan too much. I had a bar that I had found, a vintage bar that we were going to use. And other than that, I knew some of the aspects I wanted to incorporate, but it just kind of came about over the few weeks of us building it. And we said, oh, we could do this, we can do that. And it was a cozy little space. I mean, it's something like somebody could put in their bedroom at home, kind of. That's how we built it. And some people still miss the coziness of it. It was fun. We had that for a few years, but like I said, it took on it was a beast, and we had to move and go with it. Well, we didn't have to, but I chose to. Yeah.
And now, like, so it's kind of flip-flop. Well, first of all, you have a huge tiki bar and it's more than one building now, which is really cool. But and upstairs is like the little tribute, like the VIP lounge, to sort this out, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, I want to spend more time on talking about the front and the back room of the tiki bar, so we'll do that in the next segment. But I thought, like, to kind of finish this out, we could talk about like your favorite genre of music and what inspired you to, feature live music in your venue initially and to keep it going.
Yeah. I guess I would say music of the 50s and a little bit of rockabilly tinge. One of my favorite artists is a newer artist, not newer, but he's been around 30 years or so or longer. Big Sandy and the Fly Ride Boys. And it's got a little bit of that Buddy Holly, a little Elvis kind of thing going on. A lot of people don't know what rockabilly is, maybe, but I mean, Elvis, first mention of rockabilly was in the 50s, and Elvis was, if you know Johnny Cash, you know Elvis, you know rockabilly. That's what it is basically. It's more upbeat, not rock and roll exactly, and not hillbilly, but a little in between.
Yeah. Well, and what inspired you to offer live music?
So I again, like, inspired by things I like, I guess. I mean, I love going to concerts. I love going to see live music, like smaller bands, not like going to see U2 or something. I mean, local bands, people that are just out there doing it for the love of it, that kind of thing. And I noticed there was a lack of it in Santa Barbara County back then. Maybe people did it for like a wine club party or something. They would hire somebody, but on a regular basis, nobody was really providing a venue for some of these great artists. And there's some really great artists in this area. And I felt like they weren't able to do their thing. And I wanted to provide a space for that. And also, them help me. It's a team effort. So keep people in their seats and keep people drinking and having a good time and I wanted them to feel something like, oh gosh, I'm here and this is fun. And I want more of this and I want to join their wine club and I want to come back here. This is gonna be my first stop next time. And I'm gonna tell my friends about the cool experience I had when I went to Santa Barbara. So, yeah.
And like, I remember there are some bands in particular, like the Ring Cons, right? And then there's like a Social Distortion cover band that plays there regularly too. What's their
Sick Boy?
Sick Boy, yeah.
They're one of my favorites. And those are raucous nights.
Yeah.
The Ring Cons, absolute great friends. I put an ad on Craigslist looking for I literally said I have looking for a 3-piece rockabilly band, and I still have in my phone for Roger, it says Roger 3-piece rockabilly band, even though I know he's not. It turned out they weren't a rockabilly band, but they could do anything, and they do play rockabilly songs. But Roger showed up and he says, "Hey, yeah, we could do that. We can do that." And he showed up with Curtis, and it was just the two of them at the time. They played, and they said, "Hey, it's kind of small, but we'll do it." And then we thought they had such a great night. They said, "Yeah, let's bring the whole band here," and they've been playing there for 15, 16 years now.
Yeah,
and they do a lot. They do like weddings. They do a lot of huge events, avocado festival, all kinds of things. They play at Kevin Costner's house, huge events. And I believe them. They say that their favorite place to play is at Sort This Out Cellar / High Roller Tiki Lounge.
Yeah.
And we've had great times with them.
It's because of the vibe. It's like, I mean, it's kind of a rock and roll, like it's a hidden gem, right? Like you have to know about it. And then when you find it, you're like, what is this place? This is like, right? I entered into another dimension. Well, we're going to get ready to head out to break really quick, and then we'll come back and talk about the new venue. And everybody, if you're just tuning in, my very special guest is Michael Cobb. He's the owner of the High Roller Tiki Lounge, Bettie Page Wines, and Bettie Page Rum. You can look up highrollertiki.com to get some merchandise, right? You can join the wine club on there. You can find out everything about this awesome venue. And you can follow High Roller Tiki Lounge on Instagram at High Roller Tiki Lounge, or Bettie Page Wines at Bettie Page Wines on Instagram. Does Bettie Page Rum have a...
Yeah, Bettie Page Rum.
Okay, on Instagram as well. Yeah. Same thing for Facebook. We're going to take you out to break and bring you back in with some of Michael's favorite music. We're taking you out with Social Distortion song, Story of My Life. And we're going to bring you back in with Chalk It Up to the Blues. And who sang that again?
Big Sandy and the Fly Rod Boys.
And that's your favorite band?
It's one of my favorites, yeah.
Awesome. Well, everybody enjoy these tunes and we'll be right back.